Hello everyone, this is Tyler here. It is November 8th and I want to discuss with you guys why I think many MGTOW guys are going to be leaving their countries post-COVID once countries start reopening. Now, this is a area that I think people have recently became more interested in because countries have simply shut down their borders. I mean, many countries are closed and have been closed now for such a long time. It's been a terrible situation and everywhere, honestly. We look at countries like Philippines or much of this country depends on tourism and on the sectors where people are coming in and out of the country, and it's been a huge disaster. We could also look at US where unemployment rate is exceptionally high or underemployed. These kind of issues, among others, I think are really making many guys think about what the future of Western countries is and if they'll even be able to leave their countries in the near future, because we see countries such as Australia where Australians simply cannot leave. They are literally stuck in their countries. They are prisoners of their country. And this is absurd, honestly, but this is the state of affairs. I think in USA this could also be the case in the near future, especially with a new president in office. Don't have a good opinion on what the future of US is for now. And Canada, of course, the same situation. I personally am very glad I don't live in the US anymore and that I'm at least in Europe. I will be moving soon to a different European country. Some people may be aware of this, but I think it's really important for guys, if they've been thinking about this, to start getting their things in order to leave, or to at least obtain a second passport, as Andrew Henderson from Nomad Capitalist tells people to do. This is a really good form of insurance for your future. As we can see, countries are using these situations like this COVID situation to impose an incredible amount of control over people. And this is why I would also encourage people to look at the countries and how they responded during this epidemic and which countries imposed more control or less control. And then perhaps focus on those countries as second residencies or even obtaining a second passport. For myself, I'll be actually moving to Serbia in the near future. And Serbia, among countries like Belarus, is a place that has been much less restrictive when it comes to travel, to moving there. Of most of Europe, it's probably one of the most open countries right now. If we look at most of the European Union countries, it's mostly cut off from foreign travel, apart from other EU states or other EU countries. Many other groups around the world cannot travel in these countries. And I think this is just a sign of the times to come, honestly. It's crazy in my opinion, but this is why I think that the future really is in non-EU countries. These are where there's much less restriction, just more freedom, honestly. These countries don't have any reasons to impose control, so they're not done a terrific job at maintaining their system even during these times, even with all the pressure from WHO, World Health Organization, and other major governments to put restrictions. They still have ran their country in the same way that they were before. And these are the type of countries I'd be looking at for immigration. So many guys here, as I stated, are probably going to be leaving their countries, and most of the guys are probably from Western countries like the US, Canada, England, etc., and are going to be heading to these other countries. And if you already haven't and you would like to, I would look into it honestly as soon as you can and look at countries that will take you, see what they have to offer and what they also require, because in the near future you may not even be able to leave your country. You may be stuck. You may not even be able to go anywhere. You could be in the same situation as Australians, and then you have nothing you can do at this point. So it's easier obviously when you still have some flexibility, when there's still some options, and when you still are holding a passport that has some value. Just remember here, people from the US, our passports may not have a lot of value in 10 years. Look at a country like Argentina in South America. Argentina in the 1950s was one of the top countries in the world. And now look at Argentina. It's far down the list. Many Argentinians want to leave or they already have left and live elsewhere now. And it just continues on this path. This could very likely be the situation in US and Canada, and especially the US with a new president and everything. So you definitely want to start looking at what your options are when countries are still open. You can still go to countries like Serbia or Belarus. These are not perfect countries, but they're also not very restrictive like other places are. You could probably still have a very comfortable standard of living. I myself don't want to live in a country that has a very negative and just a very pessimistic and controlling undertone. I will not live in that kind of country, and that for me is the most important thing. As we can see, control and this pessimism and these scare tactics are all symptoms of the countries that have a lot of these controls in place. And I personally am not living in that type of place. I want to live in a country that feels free, that doesn't have a sense of pessimism, that feels more positive, and actually feels like a place that's comfortable for the future. And this is not to be found in a lot of European countries nowadays. And there are still some that are out there. I think Russia, once they reopen up, this could also be an option for some guys out there. If you haven't, I would look at the options that allow travel and where you can still go to. Belarus, Serbia, Georgia, I think is another option. These are countries, they offer great options for people that are looking for second residency, second passports, and I think are also countries with good potential value in the future, because these type of countries will be seen as beacons of freedom in the future. And of course, that's often where a lot of the value comes into play then. And this also means that then the passports and residencies of these countries becomes extremely expensive when the perceived value is much higher. And so this is why you're best off doing this now than waiting. Just bite the bullet now, make the move, or do whatever necessary, make an investment to get a passport or at least a residency document in one of these countries.